Hello guys, and welcome back to another tutorial. So on today's video we're going to make this funnel corset with a Basque line. So if that sounds like something you're interested in learning, keep on watching and let's get right into the video. So I've gone ahead to rule out all the lines. Here we have our bust point, our under bust, our waistline, and finally our full length of the top. Now I'm going to mark out my neckline. I'm going to mark the width, which is 3 inches, and I'm marking this out. After marking that out, I'm going to roll the line to create the shoulder slope. Moving on, I'm going to go ahead to create my armhole. Now at the shoulder slant area here, I'm going to take the measurement I have there, which is 5 inches. I'm going to divide it by 2, which is going to give me 2.5 inches, and I went ahead to mark it down. Now I'm going to mark my nipple to nipple measurement divided by 2 at this point here, which is 3.5 inches. I'm going to go ahead to mark this out and rule it out as well. After ruling this out, I'm extending the line to meet with the mark I made at the shoulder line there. So we're going to go ahead to extend these lines to meet with each other. Now on my under bust line, I'm going to go ahead to mark ½ inch on this inner part here and then 1 inch on the outer part here. So I'm going to mark the same thing at the bottom part as well, and then we're going to extend the lines. So this is what we have. You can as well manipulate this to be slanted or straight depending on what you want. I prefer to do mine this way and then later I slant it to my desired shape. Now I'm going to use my curve to curve out the shape of our bust at this under bust area. So I'm just curving this from the bust point all the way down, and I'm doing the same thing on the opposite side as well. After curving that out, I'm going to start fixing in my body measurement. So we're going to start with our bust measurement divided by 4, and after marking our bust measurement divided by 4, we're going to proceed to add in our under bust measurement as well as our waist and hip measurements. After adding in our body measurements, I'm going to return the 1.5 inches we took out at this point here. We're going to return it back to our normal measurement, so I'm adding it at the sides here. After marking that out, we're going to rule the lines to meet with each other. So this is what our pattern is looking like so far. Now we're going to go ahead to mark out our side dart. Our side dart is basically the difference between the half length we have at the front and at the back, and for me that is 1 inch. So I'm going to mark out 1 inch on this point here. After marking this out, we're going to connect this to meet with our nipple to nipple line we have there. Now I'm going to cancel this part out just so you know we are going to be closing that part out. Now I'm going to cut out from this top part here. We're going to go ahead to cut this out, and then we're going to cut into the shoulder line we have here. So we're going to cut this all the way down and stop at the bust point there. This is going to enable us close the side dart better.
Next, I'm going to decide how high I want my top to be. So from my bust point, I'm going to mark 3.5 inches upwards. After marking that at the sides, I'm going to go in and mark 0.75 on each side, and this is going to differ depending on the size you're working with. Now I'm going to use my ruler to roll this back to my bust point. Now I'm going to return the measurement we took here back to my armhole. So I'm going to mark that out, and then we're going to roll back our new armhole. So far, this is what our pattern is looking like. We're going to move on to mark out our neckline. So I'm just going to do a basic sweetheart neckline here. I'm just going to place my curve, and then we're going to roll this out. You're going to do this depending on how deep you want it to be, or depending on the kind of neckline you would like to have. Now on the other side, following the markings we have at the top, we're just going to roll this all the way down. So far, this is what we have. Now for the basque area, we're going to close up the dart we have at the bottom part here to enable us rule out our basque properly. So like I said before, the length we're working with for the basque is 21 inches, and the back is going to be 3 to 4 inches shorter than the front. Now I'm going to go ahead to just shape this out and roll it all the way down. You are going to have to be creative with this and do it depending on whatever you'd like, depending on the kind of basque you'd like to achieve. So this is what our pattern is looking like right now. Now I'm going to move downwards from my bust line. We're going to go down by half an inch, and after marking this out, I'm going to roll this all the way up. On this armhole area, I'm just going to slant this all the way back down to meet with our bodies. So guys, on this part of the pattern paper, I'm going to take my measurement here, and then I'm going to take note of what I have there and divide it by 2, and then I'm going to mark this as my midpoint. So I'm going to mark the midpoint, and then we're going to roll a straight line here to slash that part open. Now I'm taking out 1/4 of an inch on both sides of the line we rolled out, and we're going to roll this back up to our original measurements to create a dart at the side here. So this is what our front pattern is looking like. We're going to move on to cut everything out. So these are the patterns for the front piece, and I do not want my dart leg to be straight, so I'm going to go ahead to hold the two pieces together, and we're going to tape this down to manipulate that part to have a slightly different shape. So on this bottom part here, I'm going to mark 2.75 inches, and after marking this out, we're going to go ahead to rule this back to our under bust line. After ruling out a new line, we're going to go ahead to cut this out. After cutting this out, we're going to duplicate these 3 pattern pieces. This is what we have after duplicating all 3 pattern pieces. So on this part here, I went ahead to trim out these markings I made here because that part is going to serve as our basic bustier part. So I'm going to trim off the excess I have there. So the one on the bottom is going to serve as our basic bustier pattern. So guys, while I was filming, I realized I ran out of storage space, but basically what I was explaining is that the one at the bottom will serve as our basic bustier pattern, and the one at the top will serve as the overlapping pattern. So I already went ahead to cut this out because, like I said, I ran out of storage space. So this is what the front piece will look like. After cutting all the pattern pieces out, we're going to go ahead to label them. We're also going to go ahead to put markings on the pattern just so we are not confused as to what part stays at the top part and what part stays at the bottom part. So do well to label your patterns so you do not get confused. So for the back piece, I went ahead to rule out the lines. This is my bust point line, my under bust line, and my waistline. The full length of this is about 17 inches. Now moving on to add my body measurement divided by 4. So I'm marking out my bust measurement divided by 4, my under bust and waist measurement divided by 4. Now I'm just going to rule this out. So this is what we have. Now I'm going to decide how low I want the back depth to be, and because we are working on a sort of like a strapless top, I'm going to make use of 8 inches. So I'm going to mark 8 inches. After marking that, I'm going to rule a line across. So because we're going to have a loop at the back of our corset top, we are going to take out 1.75 inches at the top here, and then at the bottom part I'm going to mark out 1.5 inches, and then we're going to rule this line to meet with each other. Next, I'm going to cancel out this part here just so you know we are no longer working with that part. Now I'm going to divide the remaining part of the back piece we have here, and I'm just going to mark it out and then create a dart there. You can choose to slash this as much as 3 pieces if you'd like. I just prefer to make mine into 2 pieces. I'm going to go ahead to take out 1/2 inch on both sides, and then we're going to rule this out. After taking out the dart, I'm going to go ahead to cancel this out. Next, I'm bringing in my side front pattern and I'm aligning it with the side back pattern, and you can see that the sides align properly. So you want to make sure this is what you have after drafting your front and back pattern. So this is what our back pattern is looking like. We're going to move on to cut this out. So these are all our pattern pieces. We're moving on to cut this on fabric. So to cut this on fabric, we're just going to place this down and cut, leaving 1/2 inch allowance all the way around on all sides of our pattern papers.
So guys, these are all our fabric pieces after cutting. Stay tuned for the sewing part where I show you how to sew this funnel corset top. If you enjoyed watching this video and you found this video helpful, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe if you're not yet subscribed already, and if you have any questions, leave it in the comment section below and I will try my best to answer your questions. See you guys on the next one. Bye guys.